I never imagined those words would come from my own father. She's a failure, should have never been born. That's what he said when he thought no one was listening. For years, I'd paid the mortgage on our $830,000 home where they lived rent-free. I gave up everything for them. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just made a choice. A week later, I sold my dream home and moved out of state. I left them behind, along with the weight of their words. Before I get into what happened next, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. You'll want to stick around. What came after that moment changed everything. If you've ever dealt with a toxic family, this might resonate. My name is Audrey Foster, and at 31, I'd built what most would call a successful life. Every morning, I was up by 5 a.m., dragging myself out of bed for a tough hour-long workout in my basement gym. After a protein smoothie and a fast shower, I was out the door by 7:15, battling Chicago traffic on my way downtown to Hartman Financial Advisors. To my coworkers, I was the poster child for hard work paying off. I'd earned my MBA from Northwestern, landed a job as a financial analyst, and climbed the ladder with 3 promotions in 5 years. My boss, Victoria Hayes, even mentored me personally. Audrey, you're going places, she'd say. During our monthly your attention to detail and how you treat clients, that's what we value most. But no one saw what was happening behind closed doors. 3 years ago, I bought my dream home, a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial in a high-end suburb. I pictured a peaceful life there. Maybe one day, I'd share it with a partner. Instead, 2 months in, my parents Raymond and Margaret Foster moved in. Dad's construction company had collapsed. Again. It's just temporary, sweetheart, my mom had said, just until we get back on our feet. That was 3 years ago. They never left, and I paid for everything. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, their phones, their car insurance. They didn't contribute a cent. Dad spent his days job hunting, but never landed anything. Mom volunteered at church and had lunch with her friends every Wednesday. Every Wednesday night, my sister Heather would visit with her 3 kids. She married her high school sweetheart Keith, had her first baby at 21, and dropped out of community college. Despite everything, our parents lit up every time she walked in. There's our girl, Dad would beam, arms wide open. Meanwhile, I'd barely get a nod. After dinner, I'd retreat to my home office to catch up on work. The exhaustion was constant. Carrying the weight of everyone else's needs was crushing. But I kept telling myself, I'm the successful one. This is what good daughters do. My best friend Zoe never bought it. They're using you, she'd say during our rare lunch dates. They're grown adults, Audrey. They should be taking care of themselves, not leaning on you. They're my parents, I'd reply automatic. Dad's still looking for work. Mom never had a career. What am I supposed to do? Throw them out? Zoe would just shake her head. She'd known me since college. She'd seen me hit every goal and then hand the rewards over to my family. That particular Wednesday, I had a huge presentation, one that could land us a multi-million-dollar retirement fund. Victoria had trusted me to lead. Nail this, and we'll be talking senior analyst, she'd said. As I adjusted my blazer, before heading out, I saw Dad in the kitchen, scrolling his phone. Big day today, I said with a smile. Wish me luck. He barely looked up. Sure, honey, good luck. I swallowed the hurt. Today was about my future. Today, I'd prove I was ready for the next step, and I did. The presentation went better than I could have dreamed. The clients were engaged, asking questions, nodding through my breakdown. Victoria caught my eye from across the table and gave a small thumbs up. After they left, she pulled me aside. You nailed it, Audrey. I think we've got them. Take the rest of the day off. Few earned it. I floated out of the building. I couldn't wait to share the news. Despite everything, I wanted to tell my parents first. Maybe Dad would be proud. I pulled into the driveway at 2:30. Both their cars were there, which was odd. Mom usually had book club. I entered quietly through the side door, near the kitchen, ready to surprise them. That's when I heard my dad's voice from his room, now his makeshift office. He was on a video call. Yes, Stan, we're still living with her. What choice do we have? The market's insane right now. Stanley Bennett, Dad's old construction buddy. I was about to call out when Dad's tone shifted. Hold on, let me end this properly. Audrey always nags me for just closing the window. There was a click. Then Dad's voice again. There. Now we can talk. But he hadn't ended the call. Stanley's voice was still faintly audible. And that's when I heard it. She's nothing, Stan. A failure. Should have never been born. It hit me like a punch to the chest. I froze. Sure, she makes money, he sneered. But what kind of life is that? 31 and still single, married to her job. She acts like we should be grateful to live here. Well, Stanley replied, at least you've got a roof. Yeah, Dad said, but at what cost? My dignity. It's humiliating telling people my daughter supports me, Stan asked. What about Heather? She doing all right? Suddenly, Dad's tone softened. Now, she's my real achievement. 3 beautiful grandkids, a solid marriage. Sure, she didn't go to some fancy school like Audrey, but she's got what matters: family love, stability. Keith's business is doing well. They're even thinking of upgrading to a bigger house. Then, I heard the door open. Mom joined in. Who are you talking to? Ray. Just Stan, chatting about the girls. Her voice got lower as she stepped closer to the screen. Did you tell him about Audrey's promotion? The one she won't shut up about? What's there to tell? Dad scoffed. Another step up the ladder. Who cares? Mom sighed. Sometimes I wonder where we went wrong with her. So cold, so obsessed with money. Not like our Heather. Exactly, Dad said. At least living here saves us a fortune. Another year or two, and we'll be back on our feet. Putting a down payment on a place near Heather and the kids, that's the goal, my mother said dreamily. I'm tired of tiptoeing around Audrey, pretending to care about her job stories. Remember last Christmas, she added. She gave us those expensive watches. Like we needed a flashy reminder of how rich she is. So tasteless. My stomach turned. Those watches had cost me $3,000. I'd spent weeks researching designs, choosing styles that would suit them perfectly, something thoughtful, lasting. Well, Mom continued, we'll just keep playing along. She needs us more than we need her, even if she doesn't know it. Who else does she have? No husband, no kids. Just that annoying friend Zoe filling her head with nonsense. True, Dad agreed. Remember when Zoe talked her into going to Cabo instead of helping us with that bathroom remodel? So selfish, both of them. I'd canceled that trip at the last minute, after Dad complained he needed help fixing up the house. I lost the deposit. Used my vacation days to paint and tile instead. Their conversation went on, but I couldn't listen anymore. My heart was pounding in my chest, nausea rolling through me. I backed away from the hallway, grateful I'd worn flats instead of heels. Somehow, I made it to my car unnoticed. Sitting behind the wheel, my hands trembled so badly I couldn't even insert the key. Fragments of what I'd just heard echoed in my head. A failure. Should have never been born. My real achievement. Saving a fortune. The girl they treated like an afterthought was the one paying for their comfort. The person they secretly resented was the only reason they weren't homeless. I don't remember the drive to Zoe's. Muscle memory must have taken over, guiding me through streets I knew by heart, while my mind reeled with 31 years of re-examined memories. Every report card they barely glanced at. Heather's C+ in art getting prime space on the fridge. My college graduation party they left early because Heather's son had a cold. The loans they never repaid. The sacrifices I made without complaint. By the time I parked in front of Zoe's apartment, shock had melted into something else. Cold, clear, final. For the first time, I saw them not through hope or longing but as they truly were. They said, "What?" Zoe gasped, eyes wide with disbelief as I spilled everything. She paced the living room in a fury, arms waving. "You need to confront them, right now." "I'll drive you." I sank deeper into her couch, hugging my knees to my chest. "I can't. Not tonight. I can't even look at them knowing what they really think of me." Zoe sat beside me and clasped my shaking hands. "Then stay as long as you need." As the adrenaline faded, painful clarity returned. All the things I'd buried or rationalized came flooding back. Like when I gave Dad my $15,000 year-end bonus to pay off the final debts from his failed business. He barely said thanks. Called Heather to chat about private school options for her son, or the European vacation I'd saved for since college postponed 3 times. First for Dad's knee surgery didn't stop him from golfing 2 weeks later. Then for Mom's minor car accident, which led to a car I paid for. And finally for Heather's unexpected medical bills. When I moved into my house, the one I'd worked years to afford, they showed up 3 weeks later with suitcases, claiming their landlord sold the place out from under them. I gave them the master bedroom. moved myself into the guest room. I gave up my space, my privacy, my peace. Because that's what daughters do, right? I've defended him so many times, I whispered. I made excuses when people questioned his constant failures, bad partners, bad timing, bad luck. Because you're loyal, Zoe said softly. That's not a weakness, Audrey. My phone buzzed. A text from Danielle, my assistant. Great job today. Victoria's thrilled. Did you leave early? Need anything? I'd completely forgotten about the successful presentation, the one I was so proud of. It felt meaningless now, overshadowed by betrayal. My entire identity, I said slowly, was wrapped around being the good daughter, the dependable one, the overachiever. But they never wanted that. They wanted me to be Heather. Zoe snorted. Heather, who can't keep a job and leans on her husband's family to survive. That Heather, they don't see it that way, I replied. They see the kids, the marriage, the normal life I've never had because I've been too busy carrying everyone else. As night fell, I found myself scrolling through property law articles. The house was in my name. Legally, they had no claim to it. I could ask them to live on, they couldn't stop me. That thought came with a strange, bittersweet feeling. Guilt, but also something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. The next morning, Zoe used her network to get me an emergency appointment with her therapist, Dr. Amelia Richardson. After I told her everything, Dr. Richardson leaned forward gently. What you're describing is betrayal, deep and profound. It's completely natural to feel disoriented, angry, even grieving. You're mourning the parents you thought you had. I keep wondering if I should go back, confront them, scream, make them feel what I felt. Would that give you what you need? She asked. I paused. No, I finally said. They'd twist it, minimize it, or blame me. They always do. Then what would give you what you need? The answer came without hesitation. Freedom. Freedom from the guilt, the obligation, the need for their approval. I want to stop chasing something I'll never get. And how would you start creating that freedom? She asked. I didn't answer, not out loud, but in my head, I was already running numbers. My savings, the equity in the house, the cost of starting over. By the time I walked out of Dr. Richardson's office, I had a rough plan. No dramatic confrontation, just an exit, quiet, firm, final. That night at Zoe's, I sat at her kitchen table and opened my laptop, created a spreadsheet, outlined steps, made a list of calls to make, research to do. By dawn, I had a full exit strategy mapped out, not just how to leave but how to rebuild, free from the people who never truly saw me. As I drifted to sleep, I felt something lift off my chest. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I called in sick the next morning, a first for me. Victoria was supportive. You've earned time off, Audrey. Take a month if you need it. Her voice carried concern. I brushed it off with a lie about a 24-hour bug. The lie surprised me. I'd always been honest, especially at work. But now, lying was easy. Maybe I'd learned it from the best. My first call of the day was to Trevor Michaels, my financial advisor. We met monthly, but this time, urgency colored my voice. I need an emergency meeting, I told him. Are you all right, Audrey? He asked gently. I will be, I said. And for once, I meant it. ... with a view of Lake Michigan. Behind him, Trevor listened as I explained my plans, leaving out the emotional backstory. His expression stayed professionally composed. So you'd like to liquidate some assets to fund a new property out of state, while also listing your current home, he confirmed. Yes, I need to know how much I can access quickly without penalties and what the tax implications would be. He typed rapidly, reviewing my portfolio. You're in a strong position, he said. It's a good market for sellers, especially in your area. Where are you looking to move? Denver, I said, the decision having crystallized somewhere between Zoe's apartment and Trevor's office. I've always loved the mountains. By the time I left his office, I had a complete financial picture and a referral to a real estate agent who specialized in discreet, expedited sales for professionals. Natalie Wells called me before I even reached my car. I understand you're looking for a quick, quiet transaction, she said, wasting no time. I can come by this afternoon to assess the property. Not today, I said quickly. My parents are still at the house. Tomorrow morning is better. They have a standing breakfast with friends on Fridays. Your parents live with you? She asked, her tone shifting. Are they Coners? No, I replied. The property is solely in my name. Good. That'll make things much simpler. My next call was to Melissa Johnson, a Denver-based agent Natalie recommended. She specialized in relocating professionals and understood the need for discretion and speed. I'll start sending over virtual tours today, she promised. Based on your budget and preferences, I already have a few options in mind. After that came the lawyer Patricia Alba. A colleague who'd gone through a complex divorce had passed me her name. Patricia confirmed what I already suspected. As the sole owner, you have every legal right to sell the property, no matter who's living there, she said. You'll need to follow proper eviction procedures if they refuse to leave, but based on what you've told me, I doubt it will come to that. By mid-afternoon, the scaffolding of my new life was taking shape. I drove back to the house, timing it so my mom would be at her usual hair appointment. Dad was likely in the basement, his so-called workshop, full of unfinished projects. I slipped quietly into my room and began packing. I started with essentials, personal documents, into a secure portfolio, birth certificate, passport, insurance files, property deeds. Next came jewelry and small valuables, all packed into a discreet carry-on bag I could easily bring to Zoe's, in the back of the closet. I found a box of childhood mementos I'd carried through every move, diaries with tiny locks, faded school ribbons, family photos. I opened one of the diaries from when I was 12. The handwriting was big and loopy. Dad missed the science fair again. Mom said he was too busy, but I saw him watching TV. Heather got a new bike for getting a B in math. I got all A's, but no one noticed. Page after page filled with small heartbreaks. Moments I had normalized. Accepted. In another box were handmade gifts I'd made over the years. A clay pencil holder for Dad, meticulously painted. A delicate beaded necklace I'd strung for Mom over weeks. Both sat dusty, unused, tucked away instead of displayed or worn. I was returning the boxers to the closet when my phone rang. It was Heather. Hey, are you okay? Mom said you didn't come home last night. I hesitated. We'd never been close. The age gap, the favoritism, would create a distance. She wasn't malicious, just unaware, self-absorbed in the way people often are when they've always been. The favorite, I'm staying with Zoe for a few days, I said. I just need some space. Space from what? Did something happen? We agreed to meet at a coffee shop halfway between our homes. I wasn't ready to share everything, but I needed to see her face, needed to know if she'd been part of it. The cafe was busy, just enough noise for privacy. Heather arrived, looking frazzled, her blonde hair in a messy ponytail. She'd always been the pretty one, the bubbly one, while I was the smart one, a title that felt more like a consolation prize. What's going on? She asked, sliding into the seat. Mom's freaking out. She thinks you're having some kind of breakdown. I'm selling the house, I said flatly. Her eyes widened. What? Why? You love that house. I'm moving to Denver. The process has already started. Denver? What about Mom and Dad? Where will they go? There it was. Her first thought was about them, not me. But the confusion was genuine, not calculating. They'll figure it out, I said firmly. They're adults, but they can't afford a place right now. Dad's still unemployed and Mom never worked. I'm aware, I said. I've supported them completely for 3 years, mortgage, utilities, groceries, everything. Did you know that? She looked uncomfortable. I knew you were helping. Helping implies they contributed. They didn't. Heather fidgeted with her coffee. Look, I'd help if I could, but 3 kids, and Keith's business is still stabilizing. I'm not asking for your help, I interrupted. I'm informing you. I'm leaving because of them. Did they do something? I paused. I could have told her everything, but one look at her wide, worried eyes and I knew she didn't know. She had been shielded by their love. I just need a change, I said quietly. The house will sell fast. They'll need to figure things out. They could stay with us temporarily, she offered, though her voice lacked commitment. The guest room is small, but it's up to them. I stood. I just wanted you to hear it from me. As I turned to go, she called after me. Audrey, are you really okay? For a moment, her concern felt real. Like the sister who once defended me as a kid, when I broke Dad's mug and he lost his temper. I will be, I said. And I meant it. That afternoon, I had a video interview with Westbrook Financial in Denver, leveraging a connection from last year's conference. The hiring manager, Benjamin Clark, remembered me. We'd be lucky to have you, he said. Our team lead position just opened. Your timing is perfect. Perfect timing indeed. My last call was to Victoria. She deserved transparency, at least on a professional level. Denver, she repeated, surprised. Well, that's unexpected. We do have a satellite office. They're not as high profile as Chicago, but it's growing. Would you consider a transfer? Instead of resigning, I was caught off guard. You'd do that for me. Of course, you're one of our top people. I'd rather keep you in the Hartman family even from a distance. Think about it. Let me know by Monday. As I ended the call, the irony hit me. I had done more in one day for myself than I had in a decade of trying to please my family. It took hearing the truth from their lips to finally give myself permission to live. That night, I came home for dinner. I watched them differently. Their small talk, their complaints, their polite questions about my illness. I responded, kindly, passed the potatoes, excused myself early. In my room, I resumed preparations. Documents were uploaded to secure cloud storage. Researching moving companies, opening new bank accounts my parents couldn't access, each task chipped away at the guilt and obligation that had weighed me down for years. In their place, something new began to rise, a quiet determination, free from the need for permission or approval. 1 week later, the house was officially on the market. Natalie had worked wonders, arranging for staging and photography while my parents were out. The listing went live Thursday evening. Luxury family home in prestigious neighborhood, priced to sell quickly. We'll hold the open house this Sunday, Natalie told me. Given the market and your location, I expect multiple offers by Monday. I nodded, scrolling through the photos on my laptop. The house looked beautiful, bright, airy, polished. For the first time in months, it no longer looked like a cage. I'll make sure my parents are out during the open house. Natalie hesitated. Have you told them yet? They'll find out soon enough. And soon enough turned out to be that very night. I pulled into the driveway to find my father standing outside, arms crossed, face thunderous. My mother stood beside him, wringing her hands, her expression shifting rapidly between hurt and fury. What the hell is this? Dad barked, pointing to the for sale sign Natalie had installed. I walked past him, unlocking the front door with calm hands. It's exactly what it looks like. I'm selling the house. They followed me inside. You can't just sell our home without talking to us, my mother cried, her voice already hitting that panicked pitch I remembered from childhood. It's not our home, I said evenly. It's my home. The deed, the mortgage, the utility bills, they're all in my name. I've made every payment for 3 years, so that gives you the right to throw your own parents out, my father roared, his face reddening like it always did when he lost control. I'm selling my property, I repeated. What you do next is up to you. My mother stepped between us, tears brimming. Sweetheart, what's gotten into you? Is it stress? Work trouble? This isn't impulsive, I said calmly. The house has already been staged and listed. The open house is Sunday. This Sunday, Dad sputtered. Where are we supposed to go? I made brunch, reservations at the Drake, my treat. You'll be out from 11 to 3. Mom's tears vanished, replaced by indignation. You expect us to sit at brunch while strangers walk through our home? My home, I corrected. And yes, that's exactly what I expect. Dad pulled his usual move. I'm calling Heather. She talks sense into you. I shrugged, a new gesture from me, one that stopped both of them cold. Call whoever you want. An hour later, we were in the living room, the scene resembling a warped version of a family meeting. Heather had arrived with her kids. Her husband Keith trailed behind, looking visibly uncomfortable. The kids were sent to the backyard, while the adults remained to, as Dad ominously put it, sort this mess out. Audrey, Heather began, clearly assigned the role of mediator. I get that you're going through something, but selling the house seems extreme. It's not, I said. It's practical. I'm moving to Denver for a new job. Keith, usually quiet during family discussions, chimed in. Denver's booming. Great time to buy. Career-wise, it makes sense. Dad glared at him like he'd committed treason. Not helping. Keith, I'm just saying, it adds up. Mom jumped back in. Why the rush? Why not give us time to adjust? The closing will be in 30 days. That's standard. You'll have a month to get organized. Dad exploded. A month? That's not enough time. We can't just pack up and find a new place in this market. I managed to sell a house and plan a cross-country move in a week, I said. I think between the two of you, finding a local apartment in a month is doable. Heather looked torn. Mom, Dad, Audrey does have the right. Maybe we should focus on helping you find a new place. Dad's face twisted in betrayal. You're taking her side. I'm not taking sides, Heather said gently. I'm being realistic. If the house is selling, you need somewhere to go. From there, the conversation unraveled, cycling through anger, guilt, bargaining. Just give us 3 more months, Mom pleaded. At least until after the holidays. The market's hot, I replied. Waiting would be financially irresponsible. Dad scoffed. Since when do you care more about money than your family? The irony nearly choked me. If only he knew it was his own words that pushed me here. But I didn't say it. I wouldn't give them that power. By Sunday, the tension in the house was unbearable. They'd stopped speaking to me, reverting to their favorite childhood tactic, cold silence. We drove to brunch, in silence. The air in the car was heavy with blame. Neither of them dared speak aloud. At the Drake, a text from Natalie lit up my phone. Huge turnout, over 40 parties already, multiple serious buyers. By Monday morning, she called again. We have 7 offers. Highest is $875,000 cash, 21-day close, minimal contingencies. Accept it, I said immediately. You sure? We could counter maybe, push it to $885,000. The speed matters more to me than another 10 grand. That night, I returned home with a signed purchase agreement. Closing date, June 17th, exactly 3 weeks away. The buyers had waived inspection. All that remained was a standard appraisal. Meanwhile, Melissa in Denver had found me a dream apartment, 2 bedrooms, mountain views, secure building, walking distance to my new office. I can hold it with a deposit, she said. It'll be ready by June 20th, 3 days after closing. Just enough time to pack what I wanted and make the drive west. I hired a professional organizer, Laura Bennett, who specialized in downsizing. Think of it as curating your life, she said as we surveyed my bedroom. Keep only what fits your new chapter. We sorted everything into 3 piles: keep, sell, donate, and discard. My wardrobe was ruthlessly trimmed. Gone were the structured suits of Chicago finance, replaced with more casual staples for Denver's tech scene. Furniture that wouldn't fit the new space went to high-end resale shops. Books were boxed for donation, except for a few treasured volumes I couldn't part with. Danielle, my assistant, came by that weekend to help. She brought coffee and an energy that matched my own. Victoria's in denial, she said as we wrapped framed photos in bubble wrap. She keeps saying you'll change your mind before the paperwork's finalized. Not a chance, I replied, carefully packing a photo from my college graduation. The one time my parents looked proud of me. Was it real, or just posed for the camera? As we worked, memories of my ex, Connor, surfaced. You drop everything for them, he'd said during our last fight. It's like you're the parent. I'd ended things, thinking he was selfish. Now I wondered if he saw the truth I hadn't been ready to admit. By the second week, the house was half-packed. My life, finally, was being sorted into clear, honest categories. Labeled moving boxes lined the hallway like silent witnesses to my decision. The Denver job was now official, complete with a generous relocation package and a starting salary that exceeded what I made in Chicago. Victoria had processed my transfer, reluctantly, only after I promised to train my replacement before leaving. My parents' attempts to secure housing had been half-hearted at best. Dad circled apartment listings in the paper like a prop, only to dismiss them all. Too expensive, too small, too far from Heather. Mom dropped hints about moving in with Heather more frequently, ignoring her daughter's clear discomfort during our weekly family calls. 3 days before closing, I came home to find them waiting for me in the living room. Heather was there too, looking deeply uncomfortable. The seating arrangement made it clear this was an intervention. They sat on the sofa. A lone chair faced them, like I was on trial. We need to talk, Dad said, using the authoritarian tone that used to make me scramble to please him. This has gone far enough, I repeated, setting my purse down but staying on my feet. The movers come tomorrow, the closing's in 3 days. This isn't up for debate. Please, Audrey, Mom added, gesturing toward the chair. Sit down. We're just worried about you. Heather nodded, visibly conflicted. We just want to understand. This isn't like you. I sat, slowly, legs crossed, hands folded in my lap, the poised professional. Even now, what part isn't like me? Making a career move, relocating to another city. Millions of people do it every year. Abandoning your family, Dad snapped, Throwing your parents out of their home, it's not abandonment, it's relocation, and it's not your home, it's mine. Heather flinched at the firmness in my tone, but I continued. I gave you 3 weeks' notice, more than fair. Fair, my mother repeated, her voice rising, tears already forming, tears she could summon like magic. After everything we've done for you. The silence that followed was thick with implication. Everything you've done for me, I asked quietly. I almost laughed, but instead, I turned to Heather. Maybe we should focus on next steps, she said carefully. Audrey's already made her decision. Dad wasn't done. No daughter who respects her parents would do this. It's selfish, ungrateful. I expected better from you. You've always been a disappointment, but this takes it to a new level. There it was, disappointment. The same word I'd heard him say to Stanley. The last thread of restraint inside me snapped. A disappointment, I said, my voice eerily calm, like when you told Stanley I should have never been born, that I'm nothing, that I'm pathetic. His face went pale. Beside him, my mother froze. That's right, I continued. 3 weeks ago, you forgot to hang up your call properly. I heard every word. How embarrassed you are to live with me. How Heather's your real achievement. How I'm just an ATM funding your early retirement. Heather gasped. Dad, what is she talking about? Dad recovered quickly, his tone defensive. You were eavesdropping. That was a private conversation. I came home early to share some good news. You were blaring your call through the entire house because you can't work a mute button. You clearly misunderstood. I didn't. I turned to Mom. I heard you too. You called me cold, obsessed with money and status. Said you're tired of pretending to care about my job. You mocked the Christmas watches I spent weeks picking out, said they were tasteless. And you said you're just playing along until you can afford to move closer to Heather. My mother's mouth opened and closed. Nothing came out. Dad tried a new tactic. Everyone vents, sometimes. Audrey, you're taking things out of context. Of course, we appreciate you. Do you? I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. I brought receipts. I opened the folder and slid a spreadsheet across the coffee table. A full accounting of what I've spent on you over the last 3 years, I pointed. Mortgage payments, $144,000. Utilities, $14,236. Groceries and household, $28,500. Car insurance, phone bills, uncovered medical, $22,375. Home repairs and improvements, $31,900, and here I flipped the page. Loans you never repaid. Dad's new truck, $42,000. Mom's cosmetic dental work, $8,400. That Florida vacation last winter, $6,700. Heather's kids' school application fees, $3,600. Heather's eyes shot up. They told me you offered to pay that. I did, I said, after they pressured me, just like I've been secretly funding your kids' college accounts. $500 a month for 5 years. That's $30,000 they never mentioned. Heather looked stunned, her face shifting from shock to betrayal. They'd taken credit for my support, just like they took credit for my success when it suited them. Yes, we've been relying on you, Dad admitted gruffly. But that's what family does. We raised you, put you through college. No, I corrected him. I put myself through college with scholarships and loans. I repaid myself. And as for raising me, I turned to Heather. Did you know Dad skipped my high school graduation because Kelsey had a dance recital? She frowned. They said you told them not to come. Said you were embarrassed. Of course they did, I said, quietly. They've been playing us against each other for years. You, the golden child. Me, the responsible one. They made sure we never compared notes. Mom stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. We've always loved both of you equally. Really? I asked. Then why did you tell Stanley that Heather is Dad's real achievement? Why did you spend more on her prom dress than on my entire dorm setup? Why have you attended every one of her kids' birthday parties, but forgotten mine 3 years in a row? The silence was deafening. Dad stared at the spreadsheet like it had betrayed him. Mom's tears were gone. Her expression was cold now, exposed. I don't expect answers, I said as I gathered the papers back into my bag. I don't even want them. What I want, I said firmly, is for you to understand exactly why I'm leaving. It's not the money, it's the manipulation, the favoritism, the complete disregard for who I am unless I'm useful. I turned to Heather. I don't blame you. You didn't create this. They did. But I'm done playing my role in it. What about us? Dad asked. gesturing toward him, and Mom, where are we supposed to go in 3 days? That's not my responsibility anymore, I said. I've accepted a position at Westbrook Financial. I'm moving to Denver the day after closing. You can't just abandon us, Mom pleaded, panic overtaking anger. You're our parents. Being a parent, I said, standing, requires more than biology. It requires love, support, encouragement, things I've given you far more of than I've ever received. I headed for the stairs, then paused. You can stay until closing day. After that you're on your own. San Diego warm smile, quick wit, and a gentle calm that seemed to ground every space he entered. We struck up a conversation that day, one that quickly turned into regular chats in the hallway, coffee meets, and eventually dinners that stretched long into the night. Gabriel was unlike anyone I'd ever dated. That's even what we were doing. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. He didn't flinch when I shared pieces of my past or my reasons for starting over. There was no rescuing, no fixing, just presence, understanding. By the end of our third dinner, he said, I don't know your whole story, but I know strength when I see it. For the first time, I didn't deflect, I just nodded. It's been a long road, and but I was finally walking it for myself. 2 months later, my apartment now felt like home plants, thriving in sun-drenched corners, bookshelves, filled with volumes that sparked joy, not obligation. The last of the moving boxes had been broken down and recycled. My calendar was full, but not crowded. Client meetings, weekend hikes, spontaneous dinners with Gabriel, video chats with Heather, and the kids. Even Zoe had booked a trip to visit in the fall. I hadn't read the letter from my mother, not yet, maybe one day. But I no longer felt the urgency to reopen wounds just because they were wrapped in familiar handwriting. What I had done was start a personal journal again. Not the kind I used to keep hidden from the world, filled with lonely hopes and self-doubt, but one documenting the kind of life I was intentionally building now, grounded, self-honoring, free. A final reflection. People talk about healing as though it's a sudden light switch, a grand revelation, a dramatic letting go. But for me, healing came in small decisions, saying no without apology, choosing solitude over performative belonging, taking the call from Heather but not answering the letter, leaving the home I built when it stopped feeling like mine, believing that I didn't need to earn love through sacrifice. It came in the quiet assurance that I was finally, living a life on my terms, not defined by guilt, not shaped by the narratives others had created for me. If you're listening to this and seeing parts of yourself, know this: you are not a disappointment. You are not selfish for choosing peace. You are not wrong for walking away from people who only loved the version of you that served them. You're allowed to start over. You're allowed to heal. And you're allowed to be happy without permission. Seattle. 2 years earlier, he had an easy smile and asked for nothing. Our friendship formed naturally. Quiet lobby conversations became regular coffee at the corner cafe. Weekend hikes followed, each one deepening a connection we weren't rushing to define. Gabriel never pressed for details about my past. I didn't question the flickers of sadness that sometimes crossed his face. We simply met each other where we were. 6 months after moving to Denver, I stood on my balcony, watching the first snow fall quietly across the city. A mug of hot chocolate warmed my hands. Behind me, my apartment glowed with comfort smaller than my Chicago house, but entirely mine. On the wall hung a painting of the Chicago skyline, a tribute to the city that shaped me without allowing it to define me. My phone buzzed. Gabriel, snow day, hike tomorrow. The trails look magical after a fresh powder. I smiled and typed back a simple yes. That night, I realized I wasn't the same woman who had overheard her father say she should have never been born. That version of me, the beautiful daughter, the responsible one, the family ATM, was gone. This version was rooted in her own choices, her own priorities, her own joy. By December, Denver sparkled with lights, wreaths, and snowfall. At Westbrook Financial, my career had taken off. 3 months in, I was promoted to team lead, managing 6 analysts and reporting directly to the regional director. My colleagues respected me. Clients trusted me. And for the first time, I was working somewhere that valued honesty over image. I'd bought my apartment in October, using proceeds from the Chicago house, 1,500 square feet. Just enough. No more, no less. A space that reflected me, not anyone else's expectations. Gabriel and I had slowly shifted from friendship to something more. We were cautious, each carrying past wounds from a divorce, mine from a legacy of manipulation. But we were intentional, grounded, building something honest from the ground up. Every Saturday morning, I video called Heather and her kids. Those calls became a highlight of my week. Tyler asked me for college finance advice. Emma and Lily showed me soccer medals and glittery art projects. It was the kind of family connection I'd always wanted: mutual, loving, real. My parents, meanwhile, they tried to re-enter my life, on their terms. Emails with subject lines like, "In case you care about your family." Holiday voicemails filled with guilt. My mother's letter, eventually opened, was exactly what I expected. A masterclass in manipulation wrapped in concern. Families should stay together, especially as parents age. We only want what's best for you. My therapist, Dr. Richardson, helped me navigate it all. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation, she reminded me. You can let go of the anger without inviting harm back into your life. Christmas approached. Heather invited me to Chicago for a neutral ground holiday gathering. Gabriel suggested Aspen for a quiet ski weekend. And then, a third option, staying in Denver and hosting my own celebration. What does your gut say? Dr. Richardson asked. That I'm not ready to see them, I admitted. The idea of sitting across from my father pretending everything is fine. I can't. Then don't. Your timeline belongs to you. So I chose joy. Decorated my apartment with handmade wreaths, string lights, and a modest tree. When invited 8 friends, Gabriel colleagues, fellow hikers, for Christmas Eve dinner. The day before Christmas Eve, a package arrived. Inside, handmade ornaments from Heather's kids and a card. "We miss you, but we understand. Building your own traditions matters. Love you, sis," I cried. And then I hung the ornaments with care, snapped a photo, sent my thanks. Just as I put down my phone, it rang. Chicago number. My father. For a moment, I considered silencing it. But something told me to answer. "Hello, Audrey." His voice was quieter, older. "Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Dad. We're in our own place now," he said. "A small apartment near Heather." "That's good," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. A long silence followed. "It's been difficult," he continued. "Financially, the market's worse than we expected." There it was. The reason for the call. "I'm sorry to hear that." Another pause. "Audrey, I know things ended badly, but we're your parents. We need Dad," I said softly, but firmly. "I'm not in a position to support you financially anymore. My life has changed. My priorities have changed. But family helps family, yes, and help comes in many forms. I'm open to rebuilding a relationship based on respect, but my financial support is not an option." His silence spoke volumes. When he did respond, his voice was tight. "I see. Well, Merry Christmas then." "Merry Christmas." I ended the call and stood on the balcony, snow falling gently around me. 6 months ago, I would have been devastated. Now, I felt calm, steady, whole. Christmas Eve, the skies were a crystal blue above snow-draped mountains. Inside, my apartment was filled with the scent of roasted vegetables and cinnamon. I cooked not out of obligation but joy. This was creation, not performance. Gabriel arrived early, slipping into my kitchen like he belonged there. "Your dad called?" he asked casually. "He did," I said, basting the roast. "Asked for money this time. And you held your boundary." I nodded. "For the first time in my life, I'm making decisions for enough to satisfy guilt or duty." He smiled. "That's what I admire most about you, Audrey. Your courage to become who you were meant to be." Guests arrived, bearing desserts and laughter. We shared stories, gave small gifts, toasted to peace. No tension, no eggshells. Just warmth. After the last guest left, Gabriel stayed to help clean. "I have something for you," he said, pulling a small box from his coat. Inside, a brass compass, engraved with mountains and stars. "For the woman who found her true north," he said quietly, "the one brave enough to chart her own course." My phone buzzed again, my parents calling for their annual check-in. I looked at Gabriel, at the compass, at my home. "I'll call them tomorrow," I said, silencing the ringer. "Tonight is for new beginnings." That night we stood together on the balcony, stars overhead, the city glowing below. And for the first time, truly, I felt free. The journey from Chicago to Denver had been more than miles. It was a declaration. I deserve better. I am enough. and I will build a life rooted in love, not expectation. I sold a house worth $830,000, but what I gained, priceless. To you, watching this, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have confronted your parents or walked away as I did? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. If you've ever had to set hard boundaries with family, share what helped you through it. Maybe your story will help someone else finally take that first step. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe. This space is for real stories, hard truths, and healing. And remember, family is defined by love and respect, not blood alone. Take care of yourselves. Until next time.